In the vast, cold reaches of space, they observe us. From light years away, a species unlike any human mind could imagine sits in quiet contemplation. Their technology is beyond our understanding, their intellect vast. And yet it is us, the humans, that they watch with a mix of fascination and fear. Humanity, fragile, emotional, often reckless, should not have survived. By every galactic standard, we were an anomaly. On our planet, we faced creatures stronger, faster, better adapted. We were born into a world of predators. But it wasn't enough to just survive. We didn't just adapt. We thrived. We became the apex of our world, and that alone captured their attention. From the outside looking in, it doesn't make sense. Our bodies are fragile compared to theirs. Our skin, easy to tear. We lack the claws, the teeth, the natural armor that would typically define a predator. Even our senses are dulled, hearing, sight, smell, all inferior to so many creatures we share the galaxy with. Yet there is something far more dangerous about us, something that alien eyes couldn't quite comprehend at first. Humans, from the very beginning, learned to work with the tools they were given. We weren't fast, but we learned to throw. We weren't strong, but we built weapons. We weren't the most alert, but we learned how to organize, how to strategize. We understood that we didn't need to fight alone. Together, we were stronger than any beast or enemy that stood against us. It's this ability to adapt and to cooperate that made us different. The first time they noticed us, really noticed us, was when we left our planet. To them, Earth was a prison of sorts, a planet hostile enough to wipe us out. But we didn't stay there. We reached for the stars. We were curious, driven by a hunger that no other species seemed to possess in quite the same way. A need to explore, to learn, to conquer not only our own limitations but the barriers placed by nature itself. And when we broke through the atmosphere, when we stepped onto our moon, they started to see. But even then, they didn't truly understand what made us a threat. They thought we would crumble when faced with the challenges of space, radiation, isolation, the vacuum itself. Surely these would break us. Other species had tried, after all, and failed. But humans kept going. For every challenge space threw at us, we found a solution. And when we ran out of resources, we created new ways to find or manufacture them. When our bodies failed, we enhanced them. When our minds faltered, we pushed through. In their long existence, they'd seen many species grow and evolve. Most reached a point of equilibrium, a balance with their environment, a stable existence within the ecosystem of their world. But humans were different. We never stopped pushing, never stopped evolving, not just physically, but mentally and socially. For us, there was no balance to be struck. We wanted more, always more. As they watched, they began to notice the patterns. Humans, they realized, didn't just survive, they hunted. We hunted knowledge, we hunted new frontiers, we hunted solutions to problems that hadn't even appeared yet. And when something threatened our survival, we didn't just defend, we destroyed. Our wars, brutal and relentless, showed them a side of us that made even the most warlike species pause. To us, war wasn't just about territory or resources. It was about dominance. It was about making sure that nothing, no one, would ever threaten us again. It wasn't enough to defeat the enemy. They had to be eradicated, their memory wiped from the slate of history. And in these conflicts, they saw something that terrified them more than any weapon or technology we had. They saw our capacity for unity in the face of an overwhelming threat. Other species fought, yes. They had wars. But their wars were limited, calculated. They fought over specific resources, specific goals. Humans, though, when our survival was on the line, fought with everything. There was no limit to what we would do. We didn't just bring soldiers to the battlefield. We brought every tool at our disposal, our ingenuity, our technology, our willpower. We fought with a desperation that no other species could match. And when that desperation combined with our intellect, with our ability to adapt on the fly, it became something more. It became predation. We learned from every battle. We adapted with terrifying speed. What worked against us once, never worked again. We turned our weaknesses into strengths, our failures into lessons. We became stronger, faster, smarter, and we did it at a pace that shocked those watching us. And perhaps most frightening of all, was that we did all of this without ever realizing how far we could go. To humans, we were always reaching for the next challenge, the next fight. But to them, watching us from the safety of their distant worlds, they saw it clearly. They saw a species that couldn't be satisfied, that wouldn't stop until every obstacle, every enemy, every challenge had been overcome. We were more than just survivors. We were hunters. Predators, in the truest sense of the word. We didn't just survive in our world, we dominated it. And now, we had set our sights on the stars. For the first time, they began to worry. They had watched species rise and fall. But never had they seen a species like ours. A species that didn't just want to live, but to conquer, to grow, to expand beyond any limit placed before it. And as they watched, they began to wonder, what happens when the ultimate predator leaves its planet behind? What happens when humans stop being the hunted and become the hunters on a galactic scale? Their answer was simple, and it filled them with a deep, abiding fear. There would be no stopping us. The threat came unexpectedly, as they often do in the vastness of space. For centuries, alien species believed they understood us, our strengths, our weaknesses, our limits. But when the invaders arrived, they made one critical mistake. They assumed we were easy prey. The initial invasion was swift, surgical. It started on the outer colonies, distant settlements on planets barely terraformed. To the invaders, those human outposts were mere obstacles. They believed they could move through, eliminate the settlers, and take what they wanted before moving on to the inner systems. They underestimated the fact that humans don't surrender. Not then, not ever. The reports started coming in. A small farming colony wiped out in a matter of hours. An industrial hub destroyed before the workers even realized what was happening. Panic began to spread through the human territories. The invaders, an alien species with superior technology and overwhelming firepower, pushed deeper into our territory. Their ships were faster, their weapons more advanced. From their perspective, it was only a matter of time before the rest of humanity would fall in line, or be destroyed. But they didn't account for what happened next. Humans, facing annihilation, did what we always do: we fought back. And not just with weapons. The invaders expected conventional warfare, fleets of ships clashing in open space, soldiers battling on the ground. But humans are anything but conventional. We turned our entire civilization into a war machine. The first blow came not from our military, but from our scientists. Within days of the invasion, we had decoded their communication systems, understanding their strategies, predicting their next moves. We were slower, yes. But we were smarter. While they prepared their next assault, we were already adapting, modifying our technology to exploit their weaknesses. We knew where they would strike before they even knew themselves. On the ground, our soldiers didn't just engage in combat, they became shadows. Guerrilla warfare became the order of the day. Human soldiers, outgunned and outnumbered, used the terrain, the environment, everything they had at their disposal to confuse and wear down the enemy. We didn't fight their war, we made them fight ours. The invaders, unused to this kind of resistance, were frustrated. Their superior firepower meant nothing when they couldn't find us. Every attack they launched was met with sabotage, every supply line cut off before it could reach its destination. And while our soldiers waged their war in the dirt, our engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to bridge the technological gap. Within weeks, we had reverse-engineered their weapons. Their ships, once unbeatable, became vulnerable. Human ingenuity turned their strengths against them, and suddenly, the invaders were facing an enemy they had never prepared for. We didn't just fight back. We learned. And fast. Every defeat became a lesson, every casualty a rallying cry. Humans, unlike any other species, thrive under pressure. The more desperate the situation became, the harder we fought. It wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that no one, no matter how advanced or powerful, could take what was ours without paying the ultimate price. The invaders tried to regroup, to consolidate their forces and push deeper into human territory. But we had already anticipated their moves. They thought they could outlast us, but they underestimated just how far humans are willing to go when everything is on the line. Entire cities were evacuated, their populations relocated underground, leaving behind empty shells designed to lure the invaders into traps. Human tacticians played a game of misdirection, leading the enemy into ambush after ambush. And when the time came, we struck back. Hard. Human fleets, once scattered and outmatched, had been rebuilt with alien technology. Our ships, retrofitted with weapons designed to counter their advanced defenses, moved with precision and purpose. We didn't fight for territory or glory, we fought to eliminate the threat. To make sure that when the invaders left, they would never come back. The first major battle was on the outskirts of a mining colony. The invaders, expecting an easy victory, found themselves surrounded by human ships. Our fleets moved in coordinated strikes, hitting them from all sides, exploiting every weakness we had uncovered during the early days of the war. The invaders, once confident in their superiority, began to falter. Their ships, designed for overwhelming offense, crumbled under the weight of our relentless attacks. And still, we pushed forward. On the ground, human soldiers fought with a ferocity the invaders had never seen before. We didn't just fight to win, we fought to destroy. Every inch of ground they gained was paid for in blood, and every loss they suffered was followed by another. There was no escape for them. We didn't allow it. But the most terrifying aspect of all was that, as the invaders began to realize, humans weren't fighting for survival anymore. We were fighting to make a point. To show the galaxy, to show anyone watching, that we were not prey. That we would never be prey. We were the hunters. We were the ones to be feared. The invaders, realizing they couldn't win through brute force, attempted to negotiate. They offered terms, promising to leave our territories if we would allow them safe passage. But by then, it was too late. They had underestimated us once, and we would not give them the chance to do it again. We rejected their offers. We weren't interested in peace. Not anymore. The final blow came when we found their command ship. Our fleets, having studied their tactics, knew exactly where to strike. It wasn't just an attack, it was an execution. In one coordinated effort, we obliterated their central command, leaving their remaining forces leaderless and in chaos. Within hours, the invaders retreated, their forces scattered, their morale shattered. But we didn't stop. We chased them. We hunted them down, one by one, until their presence in our system was nothing more than a distant memory. We had shown them what it meant to face the ultimate predator. And when it was over, the message was clear: no one invades human space and survives. No one challenges humanity and wins. Because in the end, no matter how advanced or powerful you are, there is one universal truth that the galaxy will never forget: humans are not prey. We are the hunters. And we will always be the ones left standing. In the aftermath of the war, they watched us with newfound respect. The fear they felt was palpable. We had not just repelled the invaders, we had dismantled them piece by piece. The galaxy had witnessed something it hadn't seen before, a species not simply fighting for survival, but fighting to dominate, to ensure that no threat would ever rise again. From their distant vantage point, the alien observers were forced to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about humanity. We were no longer the fragile beings they once assumed. We had become something far more dangerous, something they hadn't anticipated. They couldn't comprehend how a species with such fragile bodies could muster such ferocity. In our bones, our blood, and our minds they saw a capability they had underestimated, the ability to adapt and turn our very weaknesses into strengths. Their confusion stemmed from how humans approached every challenge. Other species they had encountered followed predictable paths, culturally, evolutionarily, militarily. Humans, however, had no set pattern. When we were weak, we grew stronger. When we lacked resources, we found alternatives. When faced with extinction, we found ways to thrive. It was our unpredictability that unsettled them the most. They observed the countless times we had been cornered, where other species would have crumbled, surrendered, or succumbed. Instead, we fought harder, smarter. It wasn't just about brute strength or technological superiority. It was about using everything at our disposal to achieve victory. That willingness to risk it all, that refusal to back down, this was what terrified them. The aliens marveled at our culture. They saw a species constantly in motion, driven by something beyond mere survival. We had an insatiable hunger to explore, to conquer the unknown, to push boundaries. They couldn't understand how humans were never satisfied with stability, always yearning for more. To them, it seemed irrational, even dangerous. But to us, it was second nature. We weren't just a species bound to our homeworld. We were wanderers, always seeking the next challenge, the next horizon. Even our conflicts, our internal struggles, fascinated them. Wars, revolutions, ideological battles, these were seen as chaos by most species, events that could tear civilizations apart. But for humans, conflict was a crucible. We emerged from every war stronger, more united, and more determined. It was as if conflict didn't weaken us, it refined us. Other species feared war because it brought destruction. Humans embraced war because, for us, it often led to rebirth. But more than anything, it was the psychological resilience of humans that left the greatest impression on them. They had studied other intelligent life forms, observed species that were logical, pragmatic, and efficient. Yet when faced with a true existential threat, those species faltered, their rational minds unable to cope with the impending doom. Humans, however, seemed to thrive in those moments. When the odds were stacked against us, when survival seemed impossible, we did not crumble. We adapted. We persisted. And, more often than not, we triumphed. To the aliens, this was incomprehensible. They couldn't understand the source of our strength. It wasn't just our technology or our tactics. It was something deeper, something intrinsic to who we were. Humans had the uncanny ability to harness fear, pain, and even despair, turning them into fuel for our determination. What broke other species only seemed to sharpen our focus. This was a trait they had never seen before, and it unnerved them. What further perplexed them was our sense of unity. Other species were cohesive, certainly. They worked together for common goals, built societies, and created civilizations. But humans, when faced with an external threat, came together with an intensity that was unmatched. In times of crisis, we became more than individuals. We became a singular force, all working toward the same objective with unyielding determination. They saw this unity in our response to the invasion. Civilians became soldiers. Scientists became tacticians. Every human, regardless of their role in society, contributed to the effort. Our ability to unify under pressure, to set aside differences and focus on the task at hand, was something that most species simply couldn't fathom. It was this unity, this collective will, that made us so dangerous. It wasn't just our technology or our tactics, it was our ability to become a single, unstoppable force when we needed to be. The aliens feared us not just because we had won, but because they knew we could do it again. They saw how quickly we learned from our mistakes, how rapidly we adapted to new threats, and they understood that humans were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Our victories weren't simply due to chance or luck. They were the result of a species that refused to accept defeat, that saw every obstacle as just another challenge to be overcome. To them, we were more than just another species in the galaxy. We were a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless. We weren't just surviving, we were expanding, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And with every new advancement, every new discovery, we became more formidable. They watched as humanity rebuilt, stronger than before. Our scars from the invasion had already begun to heal, and with those scars came new knowledge, new technology. We had learned from our enemies, adapted their innovations, and made them our own. It wasn't enough to win, we had to ensure that we would never face the same threat again. Every step forward was a step toward ensuring that humanity would remain the dominant force in the galaxy. And they understood, in a way they hadn't before, that humans would never stop. We would continue to push outward, to explore, to challenge whatever lay ahead. Our victories had shown us that we were capable of anything, and that realization only fueled our ambition. The galaxy had seen our strength, our determination, our resilience. And they knew, without a doubt, that humanity was not to be underestimated again. We had proven ourselves not just as survivors, but as the ultimate predators. And the universe had taken note. Humanity stood victorious, but victory was not the end of the story. For the first time in recorded galactic history, an entire species had pushed back against an overwhelming force and come out stronger. The aliens watching us, some from a safe distance and others with a cautious curiosity, knew one undeniable fact: the galaxy would never be the same. Humans were not the end of evolution, they were just the beginning of something far greater. The aftermath of the invasion wasn't just a recovery period, it was the dawn of a new era. The humans, once confined to their small corner of the universe, now had the tools, the knowledge, and the will to expand. And expand they would. But not in the way other species had done. Humans didn't conquer through sheer force, though they were more than capable of it. No, they did something far more dangerous: they learned. Human scientists and engineers picked apart the remnants of alien technology left in the wake of the war. They didn't just reverse engineer it, they improved upon it. The next generation of human spacecraft was sleeker, faster, more efficient. Our weapons systems, already formidable, became near infallible. The very fabric of space travel itself was redefined. What took decades for other species, we achieved in years. We weren't just catching up. We were outpacing them. It wasn't long before the other species in the galaxy began to wonder, what was humanity's ultimate goal? Expansion, sure. But how far? How much? The truth, as they soon realized, was far more concerning than they'd anticipated. For humans, there were no limits. We didn't stop at our borders. We didn't draw lines in the sand and say, this far, and no further. We were explorers at heart, pioneers of the unknown. Every star system was a challenge, every galaxy a new frontier. But what truly set us apart was our mindset. Other species, once they had reached a certain level of technological or territorial dominance, settled. They became comfortable, content with their achievements. Not humans. Every advance we made, every victory we secured, was seen as merely the next step on a much longer journey. There was always something more to learn, always a new horizon to reach. It wasn't just the technology that frightened them, it was the potential. Humanity's capacity for growth, for change, was unparalleled. Other species evolved over millennia, slowly, incrementally. But humans? We adapted in real time. Every encounter, every conflict, pushed us to evolve faster. And we did so willingly. We embraced change, even when it was painful, even when it meant tearing down old systems to build new, stronger ones. This willingness to evolve, to continuously improve, was what separated us from everyone else. The galaxy saw this and realized that they were no longer dealing with a species bound by their environment. Humans had transcended the need for any particular habitat, any specific climate. With our new technology, we could thrive in places that would have been inhospitable even a few years earlier. Planets with toxic atmospheres, moons with extreme gravitational pulls, asteroid belts teeming with dangers, none of it mattered. Humans adapted. We didn't just survive in these places, we made them our own. The other species watched with a growing sense of unease as humanity spread further into uncharted space. It wasn't conquest in the traditional sense. Humans weren't planting flags and claiming ownership. We were simply moving forward, expanding our reach, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And in doing so, we became something more than just another species. There was talk, in the galactic councils and among the more advanced civilizations, of containing humanity. Of forming alliances to curb our expansion before it was too late. But no one dared to make the first move. The memory of the invasion was still fresh, and the consequences of underestimating humans again were too terrifying to consider. Besides, humanity wasn't acting aggressively. Not yet, anyway. We were explorers, builders. But the potential for conflict always lingered just beneath the surface. Some species tried to reach out, to form alliances, hoping to control humanity through diplomacy. But humans, while willing to work with others, never allowed themselves to be controlled. We valued our independence too much. We had learned, through centuries of war and struggle, that trusting others to safeguard our future was a fool's errand. If we were to thrive, it would be on our own terms. And so, humanity continued its expansion, quietly, methodically. Colonies sprang up in systems that had once been thought unreachable. Human influence spread not through force, but through innovation, through sheer determination. Other species found themselves benefiting from human advancements, whether they wanted to or not. Our technology, our strategies, our ways of thinking began to permeate the galaxy. Slowly, subtly, the galaxy was changing. And it was changing in humanity's image. The ultimate predator, they had called us. But humans were more than that now. We weren't just hunters, we were creators. Every planet we touched, every system we explored, became a part of something larger, something more intricate. We didn't destroy, we transformed. We built upon the foundations of what came before, but always with our own unique touch. The galaxy, vast and ancient as it was, had never seen anything like it. The fear, of course, never truly went away. Even as they benefited from our presence, from the advancements we brought with us, the other species couldn't help but wonder when the tipping point would come. When would humanity shift from builders to conquerors? When would we decide that cooperation was no longer enough? The truth was, they weren't wrong to be afraid. Humanity had learned a great deal from the invasion, from the wars that had come before. We knew what we were capable of, and more importantly, we knew that the galaxy now understood it, too. We didn't need to flex our military might or showcase our power. The very fact that we existed was enough. For now, humans were content to explore, to expand. But the galaxy knew, and we knew, that if ever a threat arose again, humanity would be ready. We had proven that once, and we would prove it again if necessary. We were not bound by fear or complacency. We were always moving forward, always growing. And so, as the other species watched, as they debated and discussed the future of the galaxy, one thing remained clear: humanity was here to stay. We weren't just survivors. We weren't just warriors. We were something far more profound. We were the future. And the galaxy would have to learn to live with that fact, whether they liked it or not.